Hey guys, welcome to Outlaw Edge. So I'm going to show you a welding table hack, or like a cool thing that I do. It's kind of like a welding table secret, I guess you'd say. I don't know what you would want to call it, but this should be a pretty cool video where a lot of welders, fabricators, whatever, they have welding tables in their shops and they're trying to keep them clean. And this is just something that I learned, years ago, but then I learned something new the other day, like probably 2 months ago or whatever, and I've been doing this since, and it works awesome to clean your welding table. And not only to clean it, but to keep it where stuff doesn't stick to it and whatever. So in the past, what I've done is I've always wiped my welding tables down with brake clean, and then I'll kind of go through each step and show you real quick. I want this to be a quick video, but I'll show you real quick what happens when you use brake clean on the welding table and the other stuff that I use to keep it maintenance. That way you don't have welding spatter sticking to it and whatever. So we'll go ahead and start with the brake clean first. Actually, before I start with the brake clean, this green crap, it's garbage. Don't even buy it. CRK, it's like some tree hugger, non-chlorinated, non-flammable, high-strength BS. I hate this crap. It sucks. Pachuca bought a couple cases of it. He says, I got it really cheap. And I'm like, yeah, it's because it's really cheap. It sucks. And when you're trying to use it on cars, the stuff doesn't work worth a crap. The other thing is somebody's going to bitch about it, is they're going to say, don't be using a welding table. No, I'm sorry, not welding table. Brake clean on your welding table, because what happens is it puts out a nauseous gas. It puts out a nauseous gas, caustic gas, nauseous gas, however you'd say that, when you weld on it. So if you have some on your table or on the stuff that you're cleaning, you should use acetone. A lot of the times I'll use acetone if I'm cleaning a part, or I will use, alcohol, and wipe the part down. Don't use brake clean, because it does put out when you go to weld or whatever, the heat and the brake clean mixes and it makes some nasty ass chemical. And you don't want to turn out like me. So anyways, I'll go ahead and flip the camera around, and I'm going to spray some brake clean on the table and show you what happens. So for years, I've tried to use brake clean on the table, and you spray it off. And what happens, as soon as it dries, you can actually see it on camera, what it's doing right now as it's drying. It leaves this white film, and it just, like, you can see right there how it leaves like this really bad film on your table. So what I started doing is, years ago, a buddy of mine in California showed me, he used Carnauba wax. It's automotive Carnauba wax, because his table was sitting outside. See, now you can see what the table looks like just from that brake clean. See this area right here? Not sure if you could pick that up on the camera too good because of the lighting or whatever. And it leaves this really dry spot, and it'll leave stuff all over you. Like, it leaves this really powdery white residue all over everything. Anyways, so a buddy of mine was using Carnauba car wax. You can go and buy it at O'Reilly's or AutoZone or whatever, and it's just that straight, like Meguiar's or whatever, Carnauba wax. And he would wax his whole table and then wipe it off with a rag and leave it outside, so when it got rained on or moisture or anything, it wouldn't rust. And it worked really good. And what I came up with is something a little bit different. I take these red shop rags, and you want to try to use used shop rags that have been washed a couple times or whatever, because they don't have the red, the fiber that comes off of here. And then this is what I use now. This is Amsoil Mudslinger, and it's like a silicone based, it's almost like a Carnauba wax actually. And man, this stuff is amazing. So I am sponsored by Amsoil. If you look around the shop, you'll see Amsoil stuff all over the place. Thank you, Jim. This is one of our sponsors. I want to thank him. But the thing is, I'm not getting paid to do this or nothing. I just wanted to show you guys what I do on my table, on the welding table, to protect it. Because every time I go to weld, I get the welding spatter from the MIG welder. The TIG welder is fine. I never get anything on the table. And then the welding spatter from the MIG always sticks to the table if I don't do this step right here. If I use brake clean, the welding spatter sticks all over, and then I gotta sit and grind it off and knock it off with chisels, and you have those little cherries or BBs all over your table, and it sucks because a lot of times you'll go to do something, it'll cut you open, or you'll try to sit something down to weld it, and those little cherries are, you know, they'll be sticking up. Sorry about that, crappy camera work. They'll be sticking up off your table, and you can't sit something down flush to the table. And that's the whole reason for this table. This thing is laser straight all the way through. So, you know, if you're building or fabricating something, you want it to be laser straight. But anyways, this brake clean, the welding spatter, after I use the brake clean, the welding spatter will stick to this area right here. Now this area over here, it will not. You see that sheen that's on the table? And that's because I'm using this right here. And like I said, I used to use the Carnauba wax, but this takes place of it now. And I have 3 or 4 cases of this stuff, and it's just absolutely awesome. And I'm sure there's something, you know, I used the silicone spray and tried it for a couple months, and it was this here. And it's also from Amsoil. And this stuff, it worked pretty good, but I noticed that after like a day or so, it would come off the table, and then you'd have that same dry spot on the table, and this stuff would start sticking to it. Ever since I've used this stuff, it's been awesome. Like, you could weld all day long, and the welding cherries will actually be on the table, but you could literally just take a rag on your hand and go like this, and you'll hear them falling on the floor. So it won't let anything stick to the table. So it's almost like weld spatter spray, if that makes sense. So I'll show you how it works, and you guys could see the big white spot where I put the brake clean. And all I do is I just kind of go back and forth like this, just a little bit. And then the rag that I use all the time has that spray on it also. And I just kind of go back and forth. And literally that fast, you know, it takes me about 5 minutes to do this whole table. You can see it gets that sheen back. And now you can feel it's a waxy, and there's, you know, it's a waxy layer that stays on here. It sticks to the metal, and then what happens is it'll, you know, a month from now, the table will still be just like this. So this stuff stays on the table, and that's the reason I said it's kind of a welding table hack or secret. If you guys know of anything else that you use on your table that you prefer, anything that is the same, you know, method or whatever, or another chemical. Let me flip this camera around. If there's any other chemicals though that you guys use on your welding table, like waxes or whatever kind of chemicals that you prefer, leave a comment down below. I would love to hear what you guys use and what you prefer to use on your table, because as welding fabricators, I know the frustration when you're trying to do something and the whole table is just covered with welding spatter, and then you're trying to do another project and you're trying to lay metal on the table to weld, and all of a sudden, you know, you got to spend 2 hours chipping and knocking little BBs and cherries off your table so you can start welding again to get something really nice, you know, so you can do some really nice work or whatever. And this stuff is amazing, the Amsoil Mudslinger. But if you have any other ideas, like I said, that Meguiar's Carnauba wax, it works really good too. The only problem with the Meguiar's, I noticed after, you know, a month or whatever, it starts coming off really quickly, it seems like. I don't know how to explain it. But this stuff, this Mudslinger stays on the table. And I think what it does is it soaks into the metal or something, or gets into every little nook and crevice, you know, nook and cranny. And then it leaves like a layer on the table so that, you know, when you wipe it down the next time, you don't have to use this stuff. You can actually just go through. I use the same rag and I keep it in a safe spot so I don't get sparks and stuff on it, or let it get dusty. That way it's not going to be a fire hazard also. And then when I'm ready, that has enough of that Amsoil Mudslinger chemical on it, and I just wipe the table down real quick, and then I don't have to keep wasting a can. I don't have to keep spraying the table. So, I mean, I think it's a pretty cool thing, you know. I think it's a awesome product to use on the table. And like I said, I mean, look at that table. You know, the whole table is just perfect. It's got that sheen on it, and, you know, you can weld on this thing all day long. And the other thing I like about it too is, like, when I had Rogue's frame on here, sorry about the glare, it was going off my 5 head. The Rogue's frame, you guys watched it in the video where I slid the frame from the dolly over to the welding table. I have all my tables at 38 inch, exactly. All my dollies, all at 38 inch. So if I need to slide something when I'm in here by myself from a dolly to the table, over to the welding table, it's really easy. And then that same stuff, that Amsoil Mudslinger, being that it's on the table, I also put it on my dollies, and it just makes it where the stuff is like slick. You can just push it over, you know, real carefully and slide it over by yourself. So there's a lot of, you know, pros on this chemical and a lot of cons on the other chemicals. So like I said, I don't want this to be a long video. I've been rambling on for a little bit now, but I would love to hear what you guys use on your welding tables to protect it, to, you know, do you wax it? You know, what kind of chemicals do you use? Paste wax, or I've heard a lot of guys use, there's a paste wax, I forget what it's called. They use it like in woodworking shops and stuff. I've heard that they use that on their welding tables, but you know, I'd love to hear what you guys use. But anyways, I'm gonna get out of here. Please go check out our other channels, and that's Iron Outlaws on YouTube, Iron Horse Garage on YouTube, and NZMOPAR Outlaw Customs on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button down below, and I really appreciate all your support. Later.